Welcome to Pittsburgh. Troy Fautanu. My initial reaction to the pick. I was like, there's a lot of good players available. I know we need offensive line help, particularly center, but we didn't take a center. We went with Fautanu, who is, I thought it was initially listed as an offensive tackle, but whenever you saw the graphic pop up on the draft broadcast, he was a guard. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Wait, what's going on? I thought he was tackle. Why are we drafting a guy listed as a guard? What are we doing? Are we going to put him at guard, move James Daniel to center? I'm not liking this. Like, didn't we learn from our failures of moving Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson out of position? Now we're on the verge of doing the same thing with Broderick Jones. And it looks like we're doubling down on this philosophy by drafting Fautanu. So there was a lot up in the air. Like, as soon as we made the pick, there were a lot of question marks, a lot of uncertainty. Like, what are we going to do with this dude? He's a left tackle coming out of Washington, and now he's being listed as a guard because he's quote unquote undersized for the tackle position in the pros. But after center, if we're going to go through the list of priorities and upgrading this offensive line, after center, like, tackle would be the next spot. So why are we even considering drafting a guard at pick 20? Seems like the stupidest thing with all the other players that were available too. You had Quenyon Mitchell. You had the pick from all the cornerbacks. Quenyon Mitchell, the top corner, was there. Nate Wiggins, Terrion Arnold, Cooper DeJean. You had the top three centers there too. Graham Barton, Jackson Powers Johnson, Zach Frazier. So it was a little weird, man. I was like, is this really the best we could do? Now, Fautanu, I'll give him this, wasn't supposed to be there at 20. Like, he's considered one of the top 5 tackles, maybe even top 3 or 4 tackles in this draft. He was being mocked to the teens, top 15, maybe even top 10 for some mocks out there. So, like, I don't think the Steelers were expecting him to be there. So, like, whenever you mix all that together, like, end of the day, we did upgrade our offensive line by drafting Fautanu, right? He was the best offensive lineman there, no matter what position you're talking about in the trenches, according to the Steelers, at least, right? And probably according to most big boards and most draft boards, Fautanu slept. Like, he was supposed to go in the top 15. Like, end of the day, we upgraded our offensive line, right? He's a versatile player, could play guard, could play tackle if you needed him to. And obviously, we are going to need him to, as I talk about this more and more here, as I talk through all that took place last night. But they were even saying he could move to center, which it seemed like a pie in the sky type of thing to say. I was rolling my eyes at that. So I was saying B minus with the Troy Fautanu pick initially. But 30 minutes go by, an hour goes by after the pick, and we get more and more information. A lot of this information was already out there, but I heard what I needed to hear from the Steelers. That's the first thing. It is confirmed he will play tackle. So none of this rotating chairs game of, okay, Fautanu, maybe we'll start you off at guard. You could take some snaps at center. Let's have you compete at tackle. Let's just move you all around the line and see where you fit best. None of that. Tomlin said he's a tackle. Didn't specify left tackle or right tackle. I thought someone in the chat told me yesterday, I thought someone said he was going to be right tackle, but from what I heard, unless I missed something when listening to the Tomlin and Khan press conference, Tomlin said he's going to be a tackle. So I'm like, all right, good. We're drafting him for what we need after center. Again, in terms of the offensive line and priorities, after center, tackle was the next thing. We're drafting for what we need, but also it's the position that the dude excelled at in college at Washington. It's the position that he played that got him drafted in the first round. So good there. That is what I needed to hear. That bumps my grade up from a B minus to like a B or a B plus. Because when me and Most did that mock draft on Wednesday, we did a similar thing to what the Steelers are doing right now, and I was completely happy about it. I was like, this is probably one of the best things the Steelers could do, and that is draft a right tackle in the first round, but make sure you get one of those centers late first, early second. And as we're sitting here today, 2 of the 3 centers are still there. So we could still get Jackson Powers Johnson or Zach Frazier on top of getting a tackle to pair with Broderick Jones. We just didn't think Fautanu was the guy. I didn't think Fautanu was the guy. I didn't do like a bunch of research on him. One, because he was listed as a left tackle. I didn't think he was going to be playing right tackle in the pros. And, if he did switch positions, maybe it would be to guard on the inside. Like, he really wasn't on my radar like that. I know the Steelers met with him, but I was thinking more guys that were positioned as right tackles if we were going to go non-center offensive lineman in the first round. I was thinking J.C. Latham, Fuaga, and even Mims. But Steelers obviously have a plan. They got a blueprint for Fautanu, whether it is having him play left tackle and keeping Broderick at right, or moving Fautanu to right tackle and then getting Broderick over to the position that we drafted him to play just last year. So I'm liking this so far. I'm going from B minus to B plus just based off that information that Tomlin gave us yesterday. But also, he's not as undersized as the draft broadcast made him seem. Draft broadcast had 6'3" up there. NFL.com has him listed at 6'4", and his wingspan is 6'9", which is longer than the top tackle that was taken in Joe Alt. There you go. He also grew up a Steeler fan, thinks he's born to be a Steeler, got that Steeler mentality, that Steeler approach, that blue-collar toughness, all that, and thinks Big Ben is the GOAT. I think based off those 2 additional criteria, he's not as undersized as the draft broadcast made him seem, and knows what the Steeler way is and called Big Ben a GOAT. I think that bumps him up to an A at least right now. That's where I'm at. Initially B minus, got some more information. Now I'm thinking, hey, man, the pick looks better and better as time goes on. The Steelers know what they're going to do with him. He's going to play tackle. Again, I don't know if it's going to be left or right. I think that remains to be seen. Is Tomlin going to let us know today? Because he said, maybe I'll let you know tomorrow when talking about it yesterday. So maybe we'll find out if he's destined to be right tackle. Because it seems like right tackle is going to be the better fit for him. Because if you think about Washington, who did they have play quarterback for them the last couple of years? Michael Penix. He's a lefty. So technically, Fautanu was playing right tackle for Washington. If you flip it, if you do a mirror, like that's what it is. Penix blindside is actually traditionally right tackles. So Fautanu was playing right tackle for a lefty, technically, right? So he's already done that in a way. He's already played right tackle. But with him being a little bit more undersized compared to a Broderick Jones, right tackle, I think, is just going to be the better fit for him. It's just going to work out much better for him, but also I think for the Steelers offense too. And I'm not even as concerned about the undersized talk too, because they were saying the same thing about Rashawn Slater coming out of Northwestern. The measurables are very, very similar. And when healthy, Slater over the last 3 years has been one of the best offensive tackles in the league. But I did my research more and more on Fautanu, watched some tape, watched some highlights, watched some film yesterday. And I'll say this, the dude is ultra athletic for a big man. Not only did he score in the high 90s for his RAS test, that like relative athletic score in the combine and all that. Yeah, he scored very, very high in that. But you could just see how he moves in game. He's able to get to the second level on run plays and mauls dudes over. And Washington was even running plays. Like they were specifically directing their run plays and setting stuff up to highlight Fautanu and getting him in space and him being like the catalyst for that specific play. And that really doesn't happen too often. The last guy I can remember that teams were doing that for was Penei Sewell at Oregon. And Moats did compare Fautanu to Sewell. He just thinks Fautanu is just a little bit worse version than Sewell. He's just a little bit of a downgrade from Sewell, but we'll take that. Sewell went what, top 5 to the Lions a few years back? And what did the Lions have him playing whenever he came into the league? Right tackle. So I could see how the Steelers look at something like that Sewell Lions situation, and then they see a player in Fautanu and like, yeah, I think we could do the same thing here. Why not? We get him over to the right side in our system. We get Broderick over to the position we drafted him for, and this line's going to be looking solid. Not only for this year, for hopefully for a ton of years to come, over the next 5 years to decade, right? Now, we still got to work on the interior. We'll get to that and what we do in this day 2, who we could potentially pick in rounds 2 and 3 here. But, man, yeah, I'm liking this Fautanu pick, man. I am. And I'm talking about how Fautanu is excelling in the run game at Washington. But the crazy part is he's actually better known for his pass protection. Like, pass protection is his claim to fame. He's got great hands, very fluid movements, and only allowed 2 sacks in like 1,100 or 1,200 snaps, something crazy like that. The only knock against him is the size and potentially his strength because he is undersized a little bit. So, yeah, dude might have to add like 10, 15 pounds. But again, everyone said the same thing about Rashawn Slater coming out, and they even said similar things about Tyler Lindenbaum coming out of Iowa. Like, he's a technician at the center position, but a little undersized. Might struggle against the bull rush and some bigger defenders on the D-line. Obviously, both those players have turned out very, very well in the pros. So I'll take the athleticism, the skill, and the talent, and the movements, and the fluidity that Fautanu brings to the table. If all you're telling me that he's got to do is add some strength, that can be done. That can be done. I don't know if it'll be done as easily or as simply in this offseason, but yes, I think over the course of a couple years here, he's going to get up to strength to where we need him to be to play in the pros. No doubt about it. But yeah, I like the pick. What do you guys think in the chat? Shout out to everyone that's here right now. We got Andrew Wimmer. What's good, bro? Says the league better watch out for the Berg. No doubt. I'm loving that we're rebuilding the trenches. We need to upgrade the offensive line. I thought getting a center round 1 would be the way to go. Would be the best way to go about that because it's the less risky play. It ensures you get the position that you probably need the most, not only on offense but across the whole team right now, offense and defense. We need a center. Unless you guys are feeling very confident about Spencer Anderson starting day 1 or moving James Daniels center and rocking with Herbig over on the guard spot, I think we need one of those top 3 centers. That's all. But the great thing is 2 of the 3 are still available. Barton went to the Bucs, but you still got Powers Johnson and Frazier sitting there. So if you mean to tell me we can get right tackle and then still get a center in the second round with our second pick, that's amazing. I think that's the best we can do. I think that's like going into the draft. If you were to tell me like that's what we're doing, I'm like, yeah, that's probably the best. That's the best option for us. Those are the best 2 picks we could do with our first 2 picks. Solidify these trenches. I know receiver, I know cornerback, the more flashier positions, but man, if we could get Fautanu on this right side, you got Broderick coming into his sophomore year. You already got a blue chipper and Sayamalu there. Hopefully James Daniels bounces back to his 2022 form. And then you add one of these 3 centers, you add a Zach Frazier in there. Dude, that's a hell of an offensive line. That is a hell of an offensive line. Not only for this year, but for down the road too, because you got 3 staples. You got 2 guys at tackle, ultra talented dudes that you took in the first round, and Jones and Fautanu. But then you also got a Zach Frazier in there at center. Like, come on, man. Zach Frazier or JPJ. We're set. We got dudes. It's back to the Pouncey DeCastro days on the O-line. Hopefully. Hopefully. I know it's draft time. It's the off season. So when this stuff happens, we do get a little bit ahead of ourselves, but you see the foundation's there. You see that the blueprint's there. Chad Yaw says it's all about continuity, not just a player. We have a lot of holes. We do, but if we draft for those certain position holes, our team's going to look awesome. Right now, we're still looking for another receiver. We're still looking for a center. And then you're talking house money with the rest of the picks. Cornerback, linebacker. Like, we don't need linebacker like that. We just picked up Patrick Quinn. We also got a Landon Roberts next to him, and Cole Holcomb's coming back from injury. And then in terms of corner, we traded Deontay for Dante Jackson. He's a really good CB2. You got JPJ as CB1. Yeah, do we need like a slot guy in there? We also got Corey Trice coming back from injury. Darius Rush has been chilling there on the depth chart. I don't think it's the grandest of needs, but yes, since there still will be a draft for round 3 and then even round 4, round 5, we don't have a round 5 pick, but for our 2 picks in round 6, since we still got picks, yes, we should take those spots to fill those needs. But after center and receiver, like, I think this roster is pretty set, man. S Harris 91 thinks DeMarvin is going to be traded to Marvin Leal. Haven't heard that take. King James says, great pick. Hope we bring him along like we did Broderick and Joey Porter. He will work his way in there. All right, so you want Dan Moore starting day 1. Where do you want Dan Moore starting, though? Do you want Dan Moore at left tackle or right tackle? Because I want to move Broderick over to left tackle as soon as possible. I'm not going to front. Get that dude over to the position he was drafted for. S Harris 91 says, let's put 5.5 on him. That's already Cole Holcomb's number. But 5.5 does carry some tradition here with the Steelers. You got Cole, you got Joey Porter, you got Emotes. Unfortunately, Devin Bush tarnished the number a little bit. But yeah, there's been some good players that roll through here, rocking the 5.5. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get 55 right now. I mean, we still got Cole Holcomb. Unless we cut Cole Holcomb, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that'd be stupid. I'd rather see what he's looking like after his rehab and coming back from his surgery before we cut him. S Harris 91 says, I'll take a receiver later on, maybe in the 4th. I prefer a little earlier than that. Like, we should probably do it on our third pick. What I want to do here, let's just get to what we should do here. Day 2, round 2 and 3. What I want to do is I want to make sure we get Frazier or JPJ, whatever it takes. Get one of those two. If it means trading up to pick 40, do it. Because then you're kind of set, man. All you need is a receiver. And you still don't even need to draft a guy like that. There's still dudes out there in free agency. I'd prefer drafting a dude. Like, we can still sign a guy, but like I'd like to get one of these rookies in-house because we do a really, really good job of drafting a guy in these mid-rounds and having him play like really good receiver for us in the pros. We do a good job of that. But man, I want us to get one of these centers, make sure we get a center, but also, like, why not? If some of these receivers are still there, or maybe even some of these corners are still there, why not trade back into the 2nd round somehow, some way, and just almost call it a draft? Get your right tackle, which we already did. Get your center, which hopefully we do here today. 7:00, round 2 starts. And then, man, get one of these other guys because there's so many other dudes that are available right now. Like, the board is looking really promising for teams in round 2. Receivers, Ladd McConkey, Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Roman Wilson, Malik Washington, Javon Baker. I really like him. I think Javon Baker's a round 3 pick for us. I think that's, if we stay put, if we could get Frazier round 2, we don't trade back into the 2nd round to get a receiver or a corner. We're just sitting there round 3. Javon Baker, I think that's the receiver I want. And then you still got a Jermaine Burton out of Alabama. Jalen Polk's still there. Devontae Walker, I'm not as high on him. Brendan Rice, Luke McCaffrey. Like, you still got a ton of really good receivers available. You got cornerback, defensive back even, if you want to include Cooper DeJean. Kool-Aid McKinstry, DeJean, Ennis Rakestraw, Renardo Green, DJ James, Max Melton, Mike Sandersill, TJ Tampa, Kamari Lassiter, Andrew Phillips, Kyrie Jackson. I think he's more of a third-round pick, but hopefully he's still there in the third round, gives us that option. Jarian Jones, Florida State, third-round pick, later pick. MJ Devonshire out of Pitt. He's a guy you're thinking about in the sixth round. But yeah, some of these, names I just listed off in the top 4 or 5. Really solid players, really solid cornerbacks, really solid guys that I'd be thrilled with if we got in the second round. But I still don't want to take any of these dudes over center. Like, we got to get a center. I'm telling you, man. That is the mission. That is the goal of this draft. I think if we don't get center, that'll change my opinion. That'll change my feel probably a little bit of the Fautanu pick. We got to ensure that interior. We got to secure that up. And then even linebackers. Like, I think receiver, corner got to be the top 2 positions we're thinking about for day 2 here. We got 3 picks. So, like, we can actually – no, I'm sorry. I said receiver, corner, and center, obviously. I've been saying center so much that I'm just thinking that it's a given that we need center here. Center, receiver, corner. We could get all 3 with these day 2 picks because we have 3 of them. Round 2, we're drafting 50, 51, and then we got 2 in the third. Drafted in the middle of the third, and then we got that late one from the Eagles. It was from the Pickett trade. So if we stay put, well, let me go over some of these linebackers that are available right now. Junior Colson, Peyton Wilson, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Edgar and Cooper. If Edgar and Cooper's there, that could get a little interesting. Steelers and their linebackers. He's the top linebacker out there. Cedric Gray, he's more of a late round pick. Linebacker class is actually kind of weak. Like, there's good guys that are available like around now, round 2, round 3, but after that, I think it gets a little bit more weak. But it's center, it's receiver, corner. So if I had to sit here right now, I was like, all right, let me dial up the perfect draft for us if we stay put. No trade-ups, none of that. Even though for me, I wouldn't mind being aggressive. Get the center, but, trade back into the second round if one of these receivers are available, if a Troy Franklin's still available late in the second, middle of the second, if Ladd McConkey's still there, middle, late second. Same thing with corner. If Kool-Aid McKinstry's chilling there, Cooper DeJean, Rakestraw, any of these dudes, wouldn't be the worst thing to trade back into the second and just try to upgrade the young talent in the room. Try to upgrade the young talent on this roster. It's not going to kill us if we trade a future pick to trade up into the second. It's not at all. Because we are very, very much built to win now. And it's not like we're sacrificing the future that much either. If we give up like a future third-round pick to trade back into the second, it ain't the end of the world. And you're getting a quality guy. You're presumably getting a quality guy that you're picking with that second-round pick, right? It's not like you're just giving up a third-round pick for nothing. Like, no, we traded back into the second round to pick a Cooper DeJean or a Kool-Aid McKinstry or a Rakestraw or one of these receivers. And like, you're hoping that they're going to be some sort of long-term solution for you at either of those respective positions. So it wouldn't be a bad idea at all. I'm kind of for it. I think you get center, first pick. If Frazier, JPJ's there, call it a day. You're static. And then third round, depending on who's available, I don't think like A.D. Mitchell's going to be there. Roman Wilson, Franklin, McConkey. Corley might be there, or Javon Baker. I think either of those two would be my pick in the third round. Javon Baker or Corley. And then with that late third round pick, I like a Renardo Green or a Kyrie Jackson. If you want to go specifically slot corner, I don't know if Sanders still will be there, but maybe you got a Jarian Jones. Yeah, Jarian Jones should be there. But I would prefer Renardo Green because I even think you could bump him into the slot. He's very versatile. I talked about that a show or two ago. Yeah, Kyrie Jackson or Renardo Green. So that's how I'd play it. Let's just say it's Jackson Powers Johnson, it's Javon Baker, and then a Kyrie Jackson. I'll take that all day. If you want a different combination, it's let's say it's Zach Frazier, Malachi Corley, and a Renardo Green. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. What do you guys think though? What do you guys got for us in day 2 here? What's your perfect combination? Trey Jolly says you get a center in the 3rd round. Who though? Like I think it's a big drop off after Powers Johnson and Frazier. Connor Burt loves my picks. He says make that happen. Absolutely. S Harris 91. Take the center from Georgia. Okay, yeah. All right, if that's the center you're talking about in the 3rd round, yeah, maybe Van Pram. But from what I watched with him, he just doesn't seem like he's ready rookie year. I don't think he's ready day 1. We need a day 1 starter. He could be a good answer down the line. He actually could maybe even be a good guard. I wouldn't be opposed if we just went 3-0 linemen first 3 picks. I don't know if that sounds crazy to you guys, but if we grab Frazier and then we took a Van Pran in the 3rd and had Van Pran as guard depth and center depth, but then hopefully in year 2 he could be a starter for us, potentially a guard. He could take over for James Daniels. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Dude, building up the trenches, man. Building up the trenches. You see what teams like the Eagles do, or even like the 49ers when they got the trenches right. You could just manhandle teams. You could dictate whatever you want to do on offense against defenses. Now we do need that extra receiver, but there's guys available still free agency. Like there's workarounds. There's definitely workarounds. I like the way we're structuring things. I like the way we're prioritizing things by focusing on the trenches, getting back to bully ball, getting back to the Pouncey era, the Pouncey DeCastro era, the Villanueva era, and just having those guys. Just having those dudes where, like, defenses, you can't mess with this offense, man. You can't mess with his offense. No. Tatum Brown Pritch says, I have this feeling we get a receiver in the 3rd. Yeah, I think that's the sweet spot. I think that's yeah. Yeah. Just feels like it makes sense right now. Grab a receiver in the 3rd. Or if we want to trade back up into the 2nd round and grab a talented guy that's slipping, I'm for that too. And then you just call, the 2024 draft a day. That's all. Like, we don't have that many needs. We have glaring needs, but if we draft the right players, then our roster is going to be set. Like, it's 3 or 4 positions. After that, it's not even up to 4. It's really just 3. We need a center, and if we got a receiver, we could be set right there. You still got corners that are out there in free agency that you could pick up on the cheap. Stephon Gilmore or Dory Jackson. Even if you wanted to bring back Chandon Sullivan as a slot guy on a cheap 1-year deal. Like, you got options there. You just don't have as many options at center right now. And then I would even argue receiver after that. So if those were the top 2 picks for day 2, you're looking good, man. You're looking good. And if it takes you a trade up to get back into the 2nd round to get a receiver you really want, you mortgage a future pick, you mortgage even a pick in this draft, so be it. I think you got a draft right there, and the rest of it you're playing with house money. Rugby Macattack says, I'd be happy to leave this draft with Troy, JPJ, and DeJean. Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. That would probably take a trade-up scenario, like I said. Might take 2 trade-up scenarios in the 2nd round. Trade up to get JPJ, but then trade back into the 2nd to get DeJean or something like that. Maybe you have to trade up first to get DeJean, and then it's JPJ after that, vice versa, whatever. Yeah, Dory Jackson's still a free agent. I'm pretty sure. I haven't checked on him over the last week or 2, but I'm pretty sure he's still a free agent. Yeah, Stephon Gilmore's still out there. Still got Xavier Howard out there too. Like, those dudes are better option for the cornerback position as free agents versus what's out there at the receiver spot in free agency. Like, that's why I think if you had to pick between the 2, receiver and corner for the draft, I'd take receiver over corner. If I'm ranking it, obviously center 1, receiver 2, and then corner 3 as we sit here right now. S. Harris 91 asked, do you think they're trading number 88? That is what? That's our first third round pick. Now, what will we be doing with that? Is that the trade back up into the second round? Is that what you mean? Yeah, that would have to be part of it. That'd have to be part of it, and then probably a future pick and maybe another pick this year. Unless we're trading the second third round pick. What other takes you guys got? K9S. Yeah, he's going back to what I've been saying. I can see us trading back up in the second for a top receiver after drafting Frazier JP. Yeah, same. If one of those dudes slip, dude, if an AD Mitchell like slips to mid second, late second, I think you got to almost. Or even like a Troy Franklin, you gotta do that. Lad McConkey. If not, you got a Javon Baker, Malachi Corley potentially sitting there in round 3. No M416 likes Keon Coleman. I think he's solid. He just doesn't separate that well. But he can high point catches. He can contest catch. David Monster says we need Oregon center, then wide receiver. Yep, that's how I got us going right now. K9S got Frazier, Corley, then Sanderson. Dope It's Miles says make the Ayuk deal happen. How about that? Yeah, you know what? I forgot to mention that today. 49ers drafted Pearsall. They drafted a potential Ayuk or Debo replacement, so he might be on the table. And if it's a future pick that we got to give up for Ayuk, I'm more for that than giving up a current pick. Although, we're past the first round already, so that current pick would be a second rounder. Still think we need center, but yeah, you get my point. KG0614 says, what about Luke McCaffrey? Yeah, I don't think we got to take him second round. He'll be maybe available there in the 4th. And yeah, if we draft a receiver in the 3rd, I don't mind doubling up and taking a Luke McCaffrey in the 4th either. Or even if we took him with our late 3rd rounder, that wouldn't be bad either. SRS91 says, I thought Bowers was coming to us. Yeah, I thought he was going to drop to us for sure. I didn't think we'd take him still, but I thought he was going to be available. And there were a lot of good players available because of that run on quarterbacks. 6 quarterbacks taken in the top, not even top 15. It was the top 12. Didn't Broncos pick at 12? 6 quarterbacks. That Falcons pick, man, I don't know what they're doing. I have no clue. You just gave Kirk Cousins 4 years, 180 million. What was it, 90 million or 100 million guaranteed? And then with the 8th overall pick, you take a quarterback. How long do you plan on sitting Penix? But then if you think Penix is the answer, you think he's the future, if you think he's going to upseat Kirk Cousins, then why the hell would you give Kirk Cousins all that money? That didn't make sense at all. All right, guys. Big shout out to everyone in the house. I'm out of here. Enjoy round 2, round 3. Enjoy this day 2 of the draft. And hopefully we make more good picks. I expect us to. We got Omar Khan. He hasn't done us wrong yet. Yeah, you know my vibes. Center, receiver, corner. That's what I want here with these 3 picks. If we're gonna stay still, that's how I hope the board falls to us. That's how I hope we pick them. But we might have to be a little aggressive here. We might have to trade up, get a center, might have to trade back in the second, get one of these stud receivers if they fall. But we'll see. Stay chilling, everyone. Here we go, Steelers. Peace out.